Daniel Erspamer is the director, the head, the guiding light of Louisiana's very own Pelican Institute. Hey, Mr. Daniel, welcome back to KEEL. Daniel Erspamer, how you doing today?
Hey, good morning. Great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Well, we have the email with all the Pelican Institute bullet points, and the one at the very top says, Pelican Institute, a new policy, platform, and vision for the state. What is your vision for the state?
Well, as you and your listeners well know, people across the state have been feeling the pain of economic decline and the loss of jobs and opportunity here for too long. And politicians keep kicking the can down the road, and we've reached that day of reckoning where we have to decide, are we for a failed status quo, or is it time for something new and a policy agenda that can really bring jobs and opportunity back to Louisiana and strengthen working families, and that's what we're all about.
Daniel, part of this, I'm looking at it now, says solve our annual fiscal crisis by adopting a more comprehensive, holistic approach to reform our antiquated budget system. Sounds great, Daniel. How the heck you going to do it?
Aaron, as you know, this has been just a constant battle year to year, and we'll have a lot more to say about that. That's our first deep dive. Expect once a month between now and March, a deep dive report into each of these policy areas. But the short answer is we've got to bring our budget process into the 21st century and remove it out of the specter of Huey Long and Edwin Edwards. And so it's time to end those arbitrary silos, those non-reviewed government spending dedications. We've got to look at what real spending caps look like that have teeth to them, so we stop ratcheting up the budget every time we have a little bit of economic success, and really bolster that rainy day fund and put more transparency into the whole process so taxpayers really know what they're paying.
Okay, Daniel, I'm loving this. Lower
Yes.
and flatten personal and corporate income tax rates by eliminating most deductions and credits. Does that let me keep more of my money?
It absolutely lets you keep more of your money, and better yet, it makes it easier to figure out. If you're an entrepreneur in particular, or just a family, trying to navigate the complexities of Louisiana's tax code means that there's a cost to that too. There's a cost to business for attorneys and lobbyists and accountants, and same for our families. And so we've got to simplify that tax code dramatically. And make sure, again, as you say so well, that taxpayers get to keep more of their hard-earned money.
Pardon me, Daniel. Aaron's jaw just dropped. What did you just see you hadn't seen?
Oh, Daniel, you've lost your mind.
Oh, no.
Okay, you ready? Here's one.
I'm ready.
Here's another one. You gone crazy. Ensure that every Louisiana child has access to a high-quality education of their choosing?
Amen.
How you gonna pay for that, Daniel?
Well, we already spend well more than $10,000 a child to educate kids here, and as you and I well know, the results do not match the expenditure, and it's time to change that. We're going to have a lot more details on that in a few months, but at the end of the day, we owe it to our kids. We owe it to building a quality workforce that can actually recruit jobs to the state, to have an education system that really can work for every child and meet the needs of every child. And we know that does not come from one-size-fits-all solutions. And we've got a big opportunity and a big challenge ahead to get that done.
Mr. Daniel, this is pretty big stuff by the Pelican Institute. Pretty big stuff. How can this be accomplished without a constitutional convention?
Well, the short answer to that's a great question. It certainly can be, but I think it's awfully hard. I think, our position has been we care about the outcomes more than the process, but it's awfully hard to imagine getting this kind of fundamental change without convening a convention or some major effort to reform our complicated and convoluted state constitution.
Sort of related to that, during the budget fight of the last special sessions, the topic of a constitutional convention came up over and over again and seemed to be gaining a little traction. Do you feel like that all the budget stuff is behind us, that it's sort of losing a little bit of its top of mindedness, or are people still talking about it, especially in the circles you run in?
people are absolutely still talking about it, and I think to imagine that our budget woes are actually behind us is probably fantasy, though it sounds really nice. We're going to have those problems time and time again until we actually fix the solution. So it's not a slam dunk by any means. I'm not saying it's folks are going to come in and make that happen, but the momentum is still building on that, and it's still very much a topic of conversation.
Daniel Erspamer with the Pelican Institute. I'm going to read you this one. You're obviously not drinking buddies with the governor. Unwind the expansion of Medicaid to able-bodied adults by freezing future eligibility. Does that save our state a chunk of money?
It's a huge part. It saves the state a chunk of money, and it makes the program work better for the folks most at risk and for the folks it's most supposed to serve. As you know, we added more than 450,000 able-bodied adults to the Medicaid rolls, and that's crowding out services and opportunities and expanding waiting lists for the traditional Medicaid population. Those individuals across our state who are most at risk. And if we're going to improve health care in the state, it starts by focusing those resources on the folks who most need it.
You know, Mr. Daniel, a little off topic, but not much, I wager. A couple of weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks, John Bell announces, holy cow, there's a $300 million budget surplus. And all the people who all along from this part of the state, Dodie Horton, Alan Seabaugh, Raymond Cruz, they didn't actually come out and say, I told you so, but they got to be thinking that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Those of us who were arguing against the necessity of raising taxes said all along a few things. One, we need far more transparency in tax collections, in the budget, in taxes altogether. And that would have helped us better understand where we stood before the legislature was bullied into raising taxes. And absolutely, I mean, this is a surplus for the last fiscal year. So it tells us something about what the next fiscal year, the one we're currently in, the current one in which we raise taxes, could be. And if you do the math, it seems pretty clear that those tax increases prove once again to be unnecessary, and now we've ratcheted up government once again, a root of the problem we're trying to solve with fundamental reform.
Daniel Erspamer, Pelican Institute. We'll put this whole report
may I interject,
online.
PelicanInstitute.org, right?
You got it.
Yeah, we'll put your report on our website, KEELnews.com, here in just a few minutes. Great reading, and gosh, I hope you get half of it done. That'd be awesome.
Well, me too. It's going to take us all coming together to do it, and I appreciate you giving me a few minutes to talk about it, and I hope I can come back as we release each of these issue reports.
You bet, Daniel. Thanks.